Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be going into the Mangools site profiler. Now the reason why this is a tool that can potentially help you is depending on what kind of insights you're looking for your website. With that being said, I'll leave a link in the description for you to go ahead and try this exact tool yourself, which is the site profiler, okay? So, now that that's taken care of, I want to be clear here. What I did was I find it important, especially important, to profile the sites of your competitors. And you guys know how I do that is, I think I've said this in my last video, but I use Serple here. And Serple, just for $1, you can go ahead and test it out, and you can get access to different competitors. And you can see here, there are a number of competitors associated with my website. And remember that it's very clear and very important to understand that a competitor is not just somebody in your niche, but it's somebody as a website who can produce the same style content that you're producing with the same level of output, with the same quality, and with the same staff numbers, and with the same income generations, income generated. All these kind of things are indicators of somebody who's truly your competitor. And a good example of this is, for example, my website, howtoboosttestosterone.org. Howtoboosttestosterone.org links a lot back to this competitor. Well, it's listed as a competitor, which is NCBI, the National Center of Biotechnology Information, which basically presents a lot of research studies that I use as backlinks, or not as backlinks, but as links for my site to recommend certain studies to people within certain articles, to show certain evidence behind certain things. But because we use the backlinks and we use similar language spoken, Serple might pick that up as a competitor. In no way are we actually competitors. Our audience is not the same, right? A lot of the times people who go to this website are people in, the education space. They're in schools, they're in colleges, they're trying to do a research paper, whatever the case may be. They're not students, or they're not related to my article, or my blog. So it's very important to understand who's truly a competitor and who is not a competitor. Just because they're in the same niche as you doesn't make them a competitor. But with that being said, I went ahead and took this competitor, robwolf.com, and inputted it into the site profile here within Mangools. And I'm prepared to now explain what these insights are and how, more importantly, that they can impact you as somebody who's comparing your site to these competitors. Because with comparison leads to eureka moments, levels of understanding. And I remember very, very clearly within my very first website ever, where I made my first sale ever on my website. I was selling a hoodie, by the way, but not that that matters. The point is that when I would compare my website to other competitors, it became very clear to me what I had to do, what I had to improve on, and how I can become better. And so let's go ahead and talk about that today. So the first thing we see here, other than the website, is different levels of authority, different things that measure authority within Mangools for this website. We have domain authority, we have page authority, we have citation flow, we have trust flow. Let's go ahead and focus on these front two right now. Domain authority versus page authority. Most of the time, we see domain authority and page authority relatively close to each other. And with well-written articles, most of the time, we see page authority to be higher than that of domain authority, okay? And notice what I said, keyword here, well-written articles. Not all people and not all blogs have well-written articles. Some blog posts are not as good as others may be within that specific website. It's important to know this and search for these specific websites on your website. For example, howtoboosttestosterone.org. There's a lot of different blog posts that I'm not proud of. They were written by virtual assistants. I couldn't have the time to fix all of them. I'm not sitting here complaining because I've created other ones that are damn good and they rank on Google. And so what my goal as a writer or somebody who's looking to improve my website is I have to look at those articles that are not performing as well, and I have to test them, and I have to see what is going on. And one of the ways to do that is just search a specific page and see the page authority and how it compares. Okay? Now, my personal website, because it's a newer website, and majority of you may have newer websites as well, are looking at websites with low domain authority, and that's normal. But what happens is, over time, the more page authority you receive, over time, the higher scope or the higher threshold for your domain authority, if that makes sense. And really, the way this looks is like this. If you have a bunch of pages, which are aka blog posts, that have high page authority, meaning they rank well on Google, they're doing well from that kind of standpoint, they're written well, and Google's giving them traffic, what's going to happen is, over time, your whole entire domain is going to have more authority. And therefore, when you publish new content that never existed before, will have a better default ranking from the start than other ones. Does that make sense? Than previous articles that you may have written, because the overall domain authority is higher. Remember, domain authority is nothing more than effectively like your credit score for Google. That's really all it is. It's a trust element. All right, let's go ahead and move forward here. You have your citation flow. Now, let's go ahead and read what citation flow is, because this is a custom-made metric by Mangools. Citation flow, developed by Majestic, is focused on link quantity. It predicts how influential a URL is based on how many sites it links to. Now, when people read this, they're going to assume that it's always great to have a crazy high citation flow ranking. And by this definition, people would go out there and create more and more and more and more citations and more links, more outbound links, and then therefore think that they're more influential. And this can't be further from the truth. Google understands where you place particular links and how valuable and how important they can be. If you just start linking random stuff, Google will start to say, you know what, this website is really not an authority. They're clearly trying to use black hat and gray hat tactics. You need to be able to use your outbounding linking very particularly and very strategically. And this is one of the, I guess you could say, the fallacies that most beginners go through, is when they see something like this and they think, okay, I need X or Y or Z, and they go 100% in that direction without thinking that Google has a balance and a level of understanding that's much more developed, right? And I could perfectly relate this in the very beginning to anybody who's, well, maybe not anybody, but a lot of people who are absolute complete beginners that don't know what backlinking is. And as soon as they hear that they have to have backlinks, what do? They go to Fiverr, right? They go buy 5,000 backlinks or 50,000 backlinks for $5, and they think that they're doing something positive for their website. They are not. In fact, they're hurting their website. So the point here is that this new mentality, this new ideology of becoming a blogger can sometimes, I guess you could say, can be some exciting for some people, but overly exciting to the point where it makes them make bad decisions. And although citation flow is great, it's not one of those scores that you want to have 100 on. It doesn't really make sense to have that, because it means that you're over compensating for certain links. So for sure, you need to add your own content. I wouldn't worry too much about this. As long as you're doing a viable effort to maybe outbound link and here and there, I wouldn't worry too much on this. In fact, content is much more important. Let's go ahead and take a look at trust flow. And trust flow here is developed by Majestic as well, is focused on link quality. Sites closely linked to a trusted seed site should see higher scores, while sites that have questionable links that will see lower scores. And really what this means is the domain authority linking back to you is what it looks like. Now, I wouldn't worry about too much about this either, because what I really focus on more is your follow links, and your follow links as opposed to your no follow links. Google understands that there's two different types of links: a follow link and a no follow link, or a do follow link and a do not follow link, or a no follow link. Links that are do follow links are the ones that impact your score. Their impact, and not necessarily trust flow, because once again it's developed by Majestic, but more importantly, from a Google standpoint. When you get backlinks, is the source of the backlink a trusted, usable source that actually makes sense? This is once again why it's important to not just go out there and buy a whole bunch of garbage backlinks. It doesn't help your your system, store, your blog, your website, whatever it is, in any way. So now that you kind of understand these scores, it's very important to keep them in mind. Let's go ahead and move forward. We have here our website popularity rank. Now, website popularity rank, the lower the score, the better your score is. Meaning, a score that's a 5 is better than a 54,000. A 54,000 is better than 154,000. Does that make sense? And you can see here, the website started at 137, moved down to 163, and then kind of went up a little bit there, but then went a little bit back down. It's at 167. The more popular a website is, the higher the rank will be. So, if I'm website number 1 or ranked number 1, I will be extremely popular, and I think that might be Google or YouTube or something. You know, it's going to be one of those websites, some social media, something with great impact. Excuse me, I had to take a sip there. Getting parched. Anyways, so a website with a lower rank will have greater impact, and more importantly, it will be more popular. And this is a good metric to look at because over time, you gradually want your ranking moving upwards, meaning the number getting smaller and smaller and smaller over time. I remember with my very first website, when I first started, I was at something like 800,000. Then I went down to 700, then 600. And then I stopped looking at it for a little while, maybe about a month or two. And then I jumped to 300,000. And then from 300,000 to about 60-something thousand. And then at 60-something thousand, I was getting prepared to sell the site. And then soon after that, it was at 30-something thousand and eventually sold the site. The point here is that the more popular the website is, well, then the better the site is. So the more traffic it gets, etc. Now here we have other metrics. The referring IPs and the Facebook shares. The referring IPs is nothing more than essentially the IP addresses of the websites that link back to you, that refer back to you. And you could go ahead and read this. It says the number of referring IPs provided by Majestic. Keep in mind that that many domains can be hosted on the same IP. What this means is that, for example, it's not the same as a website, okay? If I have a hosting plan on WordPress, which I've highly advised against to use WordPress, a lot of people do, 90% of the people do. Actually, I wouldn't say 90, maybe about 70% of the bloggers do, maybe even 75%. But if I have a hosting plan, right, and that hosting plan can hold X amount of data, let's just say 10 gigabytes or whatever it might be, I can have, let's say, 2 websites. Now, those websites are not going to get much traffic, but let's just say 2 websites. Those websites have the same IP address. So if one of those websites link back, well, that link is coming from a particular IP address. This is also the same reason why when I got hacked on WordPress, all of my websites got hacked at the exact same time, is because they share the same IP address. They share the same server, which is probably one of the worst things you could do if you actually make money blogging, is sharing different hosting servers between websites. There are some people who are going to get on here and say, you know what, my website had 0 issues and I was on WordPress and I had a server hosting it and I had more than one website on that server. Great. You know, you were one of the lucky few. But I think the stats are like every second 14 websites get hacked using WordPress, something like that. But it's not a uncommon thing, but you know, that's just what it comes down to. So it's just IP addresses that are referring to you. And then finally here, the number of Facebook shares that you get. Whether somebody took your blog post and linked it on Facebook, or you know, somebody shared it to a friend, or whatever the case may be, those are the Facebook shares. Sometimes your social signals can be measured in Facebook shares, along with a few other signals. Back in the day, Google Plus was a thing, which was very, very, very impactful. And there was a lot of different things that you could do to get more social signals. Something that I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go buy social signals. See, Google is not stupid. When you buy a bunch of social signals, those social signals don't actually convert into traffic, which basically means that it's a waste and it's essentially non-existent. It's black hat, and more importantly, it's not effective black hat. If black hat was effective, I'd use it. Trust me. I have no morality around that kind of aspect. I have no issue against it. However, it doesn't work when you buy social signals, because Google looks at social signaling plus traffic, plus influx of traffic. Doesn't work. So if you think that you're going to track your website and then go buy some social signals from Fiverr or something like that, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Once again, a lot of these tactics that might have worked in 2002 are not going to work now. So keep that in mind. So 830 social signals. If anything, I would probably compare my social signals to my competitor, and I would work on creating maybe a Facebook page, assuming this is also my only blog. If you guys are in my position where you have over 40 blogs, you're not going to sit there and create a Facebook page for each blog. You're not going to do all that. If you do all that, I mean, God bless you. I mean, I don't know what to say, but you're not going to have the time of the day to make that happen. And even if you have virtual assistants, it's going to be very, very tough to do that, because you have to then manage work of so many people and all these kind of things. So I keep my blog simple. I make sure that the content is written, and content over everything is the most important concept. Social signals, I'll be honest, in my world, I don't pay attention to it nearly as much, because I focus on the content and not really the social media. But once again, to each their own. Social signals are not a bad thing to pay attention to. I'm just simply being transparent with you guys and sharing what I do. Let's go ahead and take a look at the backlink profile. Now, the backlink profile is where it will show the new backlinks that you get, or the total quantity of backlinks, and the backlinks that you lose. In this case, I can predict that people will probably track their content here, and they will say, oh my God, I lost X amount of backlinks. This is terrible. I'm so sad, etc. I wouldn't worry, not for a second. There's websites that die off all the time. There's backlinks that die out. There's so many things that happen. And you have to realize that maybe 75% of the backlinks that you're going to get are total trash. They're total garbage. You never needed them to begin with, and they're not something that you should worry about. I totally understand how a beginner could get confused by these metrics. At the end of the day, if you're not a large website, you don't even need to be looking at this. You need to be looking at the type of backlinks that you're getting. Now, overall, over the period of years, you should be getting more and more backlinks over time, because your dominance, your authority, and your traffic is rising. So hopefully that's very clear, guys. Total backlink count here as well. And then finally, let's take a look at our link type distributions. We have text link distributions. We have image, redirect, and frame. We all know what these are. Somebody can create an image on their website and link to you. Somebody can create a line of text and link to you. That's what these are. That's all it is. You have do follow link ratio versus active link ratio. So 77% are do follows, and no follows 22%. Hopefully you guys remember the conversation we literally just had about do follows and no follows. Active links, which shows the percentage of links that are actually active versus dead. Some websites are dead and they have those active links set outward, and it's still catched into the algorithmic systems. Something to be important, something to be remembered, just to understand what it is. We have the referring domains, 461 total referring domains. Average links per domain is 2, which is interesting. Referring IPs, 337. The average links per IP, 3. Once again, relatively interesting. Referring subnets is 3 with 313. Once again, these are things that are not going to impact greatly your business. Most people don't make over 150,000 visits a month, and it's not something that you need to really worry about. If you had over that number, I would definitely pay attention to details like this, because those numbers will change on a daily basis. 99% of the people listening to this don't have those kind of metrics, so I wouldn't have to worry about that if I were you. Now, let's go ahead and continue. Top referring domains. This is relatively cool, and the reason why I say this is because if you are a blogger, you want to know where is your traffic coming from, specifically who's referring it. Now, of course, you can go ahead and check your Google Analytics and things like that, but it doesn't hurt to see this kind of information. You have Blogspot, UCLA.edu, which is actually pretty interesting to see. Why would UCLA.edu be referring to this person? Which is exactly why I say to you guys, it's important to look at what your competitors are doing so you can get insights, these eureka moments. Maybe UCLA has some sort of program where they link to other bloggers. Well, getting a UCLA.edu link is pretty damn good. It has a lot of authority. It's very, very useful. Maybe there's something about this. Or maybe there's some provider in UCLA that sells backlinks. You could look into this. You could do a Google search. You could do a lot of different things. And you could actually hit analyze here and see the data on UCLA and how powerful of the domain authority that it actually is. But regardless, the point here is, with everything being said, that it's good to look into this data for obvious reasons. And if you haven't seen my video that I posted before using the Backlink tool, you should go ahead and take a look at that video. Here we have our anchor texts, which is essentially when the link is linked, what kind of text is the anchor for that specific link. And we can see here anchor text like Rob Wolf, which basically just goes to show that if you search Rob Wolf on Google, it's most likely 99% chance that his website is going to show up, because the anchor texts are very, very powerful for that word. Any kind of genius when it comes down to, or non-genius, some sort of expert, when it comes down to backlinking and anchor text, you would want to anchor for words that are not your keyword. Not your branded keyword, that is. So here you could see Rob Wolf is his branded keyword. RobWolf.com is the name. If there was a little bit more intelligence with the way this backlink profile was built, it would for sure supposed to be built off different ways, different keywords. For example, ketogenic diet. I would want the anchor of my text to be keywords like ketogenic diet, paleo solution, all these kind of words, as opposed to these words. Very, very important. But then again, maybe this person didn't get to select majority of his backlinks because he grew his blog organically. People that have found his blog and linked back to him. So that's important as well. The top content at this point, Mangools did not provide this kind of information, so that it is what it is. And then here we have the competitors, which, by the way, I would not pay attention to as much because Mangools doesn't do a good job of providing that information here, at least not as much. In fact, maybe the closest one I would say is Denver's Diet Doctor, but even then, it's not the same. I would really use Serple for that at $1 price to figure out the true competitors, and even then you have to do some discernment because it is algorithmic facilities kind of organizing these things. So with that being said, hopefully our overview here of the site profiler really gave you a good understanding of what to look for when snooping around your competitors' profiles. And it's very, very important to view your competitors, understand your competitors, see their weaknesses, see their strengths, and then make your move based on that information. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out. Bye.